Okay. You've gone muted, Maisie. You're muted. You're muted.
We're live on YouTube now, Chair.
Thank you, Maisie. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Northampton Borough Council Planning Committee meeting. There's just something I've got to inform everybody who may be tuning in for the first time. The members and officers have heard this, but it's got to be said. It's about the recording of virtual planning committee meetings. The public have a right to record this meeting by filming or other means whilst it is open to the public. If members pass a resolution to exclude the public from part of the meeting, then the right to record will not apply to that part of the meeting. For that reason, if a resolution is passed to exclude the public, then for the part of the meeting to which the public do not have access.
Chair, you're on mute.
I'm unmuted now.
You are unmuted now, Chair, yes.
Do I need to read that thing out again?
I think just for probity's sake, yes, Chair, please, if you wouldn't mind.
Right. For recording of virtual planning committee meetings, the public have a right to record this meeting by filming or other means whilst it is open to the public. If members pass a resolution to exclude the public from part of the meeting, then the right to record will not apply to that part of the meeting. For that reason, if a resolution is passed to exclude the public, then for the part of the meeting to which the public do not have access, the live streaming of this meeting will be switched off and resumed if the meeting again becomes open to the public. So I hope everybody heard that. And all I would like to say, could everybody, if they've got the mobiles, even though they aren't in the room, could they just put them on silent or switch them off, please? Okay, thank you very much for that. We now come on to the agenda items. And the first item is apologies. Ed, do we have any? Well, before we start, Ed, could you just introduce, or Maisie, who's taking part in the meeting, who we are, please?
Thank you, Chair. Officers in attendance tonight are Peter Bagley, Nikki Scaife, Hannah Weston, Adam Smith and Teresa Boyd. Councillors joining the meeting this evening are yourself, Councillor Oldham, Councillor Birch, Councillor Russell, Councillor Kilby-Shaw, Councillor Brian Markham and Councillor Arthur McCutcheon.
Right, thank you. So on apologies, Ed, what have you got in your official list?
We've received apologies from Councillors Mary Markham and Councillor Boxwood, and Councillor Lane will be arriving late. Yeah,
and Councillor Matthew Golby will possibly be doing the same, but he's got other meetings and he may be having to leave, but he will be letting us know on that. If any of them are late or having to leave, anybody who has to leave, please do it between applications, and anybody arriving late, Ed, you and Maisie, put them in the waiting room till we finish that application if there was one in progress at the time. Thank you. Members' minutes, well, there will be the copies to follow. So what we'll do is in February, we'll have tonight's minutes available, will be published, and the ones in December the 22nd, sorry for this. So those minutes will be available for you to peruse through before next meeting in February. Okay, thank you. Deputations and public addresses. Well, we have a list of 8 speakers. That includes Mr. Parr, Chris Parr of Northampton Partnership Homes, but he's got no speakers against any of the applications for MPH, so I'll just be asking him, if you don't mind, just to sit there and be available to answer any questions that the committee may have. So that, but he can speak if he wants. Apart from that, there's 6 other speakers. Now, declarations of interest and predetermination. Does any members have any declarations of interest or predetermination? Councillor Birch. Jane, yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Item 10F, I am the ward councillor. No predetermination.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Nobody's
No.
indicating, Chair.
All right, thank you for that. Item 5, matters of urgency. Well, there are none. Item 6, on page 1, is list of current appeals and inquiries. Nikki, I think you will report on this, and if you'd be kind enough to do so, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Share the screen. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've had 4 appeal decisions come through since last committee, all delegated decisions. The first one is 104 Lower Thrift Street. That was for a change of use from a dwelling to a house in multiple occupation for 7 occupants. That was refused due to concerns regarding outlook to a basement. But the proposal included, it was a 7-bedroom property. The bedroom on the upper floor had a kitchenette in, but they were all ensuite bedrooms. But the only communal living space was in the basement. It was a kitchen, living, dining area with a small window to the front of the property, and then French doors to the back, but stepping upwards to a higher level garden. So concern was essentially about light and outlook to this room, and it was refused on that basis. The inspector was in agreement. The appeal was dismissed. The inspector noted the patio doors at the rear, but the fact that they actually only afforded light in the vicinity of the patio doors, and that generally the room as a whole failed to provide good levels of light and outlook. So that appeal was dismissed. Second appeal, this is relates to 102 Ashby Drive. This is a property in Upton, a development that was subject to a design code, so some quite strong design features throughout the estate. This application related to a loft conversion to this terrace property here, which included the installation of front and rear roof lights. As you can see, that's the front elevation, so 3 roof lights to the front, and then 2 roof lights to the rear, either side of an existing solar panel on the rear elevation. That rear elevation is also visible to the street, as is the front. This is I think it's this property just set in here, but as you can see that there's quite a prominence of the roof here, and very simple roof forms with uninterrupted roof forms. The inspector was of the view, again, this was dismissed because of concern due to the insertion of the roof lights appearing as an incongruous and discordant feature. Apologies. The inspector was in agreement with officers. He took on board that actually the plain roof slope of these properties is quite a strong characteristic and feature of these properties, and that the insertion of roof lights would result in a cluttered appearance and detract from the consistent design approach taken to these properties. So that was dismissed. This property relating to Little Norway on Horton Lane, this was related to a change of use from dwelling. So it's this property here, predominantly surrounded by industrial units. This is Brackmill's industrial estate, effectively. This was for a change of use from a dwelling to a residential institution for a 3-bedroom children's care home, including some external alterations. Again, this was a delegated decision. This was refused due to highway concerns. The Highway Authority raised objection due to the increased use of this access here on Horton Lane. So you've got Salthouse Road here, and then Horton Lane provides access to the property off here, and it's quite narrow up to the entrance to the property, approximately 3 metres in parts, and it's also a shared pedestrian and cycle route. So the Highway Authority had raised concern regarding conflict with effectively intensification of the use of that property. The inspector was of the opinion that the use of the property for a care home, which comprised 3 children, 3 staff, was comparable to the use of the lawful use as a dwelling. In respect of highway concerns, he considered the visibility from Horton Lane to Salthouse Road to be good. He did acknowledge there'd be some conflict with pedestrian and cycle movements, but due to the relatively slow speeds, he didn't consider that significant enough to warrant refusal of the proposal. So the appeal was allowed in that instance. The final appeal, this relates to 17 Holly Lodge Drive. Again, this is change of use from a dwelling house to a house of multiple occupation for 7 occupants, including alterations to the exterior with a rear dormer on the property. This property did have consent approved by committee back in January last year for a 5-person HIMO. So this current proposal was for increasing it to 7. Again, a delegated decision. It was refused due to concerns on parking impacts and impact on amenity. We didn't actually receive any highway comments on the application, but we had parking surveys in the area for similar applications, which had demonstrated that there were parking issues, and there was quite a lot of local objection. The inspector noticed the terrace character of the area, and when they carried out their site visit, noted that there did appear to be quite excessive parking within the area. He also referenced the council's HIMO SPD, which referred to an exercise carried out over a recent 6-year period nearby on the opposite side of Kettering Road, where a number of HIMOs had increased significantly, and as a result, a number of parking tickets had increased in the area as well. So there was a comparison there. The inspector noticed that whilst it was in a sustainable location, that increase of an extra 2 parking spaces, a requirement of extra 2 parking spaces, effectively tipped the balance in this case, and the appeal was dismissed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Nikki. Committee, does anybody have any questions or things to raise about Nikki's presentation there?
Nobody's indicating, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ed. Thank you very much. Thanks very much, Ed, Nikki. Right, we now come on to the next items, which is items 7 and 8, which there are none with regards to Northamptonshire County Council applications and Northampton Borough Council applications. So we go straight on to the main items for determination this evening. And we start with item 10A on page 3, committee. Item 10A is up to, well, it's for residential development of 1,400 units, and it's to bring an update of a mixed-use local centre, and you've all seen it on the on your papers. Nikki, I believe this is your presentation or report. Would you like to present it to us, please?
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so this, yeah, apologies, I'll just go back to the description. So this is an application that was presented to committee back in July 2019, but believe it or not, for a sustainable urban extension. It's an allocated site in the joint core strategy. The proposal was for up to 1,400 dwellings, including a local centre with retail, healthcare facilities and community facilities, and a new primary school and areas of open space and landscaping. And it also included the part of the Sandy Lane Relief Road linking to the site to the north. Just draw members' attention to the addendum. This is additional comments from Homes England. It essentially clarifying that we still keen to develop the site, and we have been working towards agreeing the Section 106 agreement, and that this current application before committee tonight is essentially the same application. It's just to amend some of the conditions, but just reiterating Homes England commitment to bringing the site forward and the delivery of housing. So this is the site here. It's to the west of Northampton. It borders the south of Northamptonshire border. So this area to the here is another sustainable urban extension site. That's Norwood Farm, and this is the Sandy Lane Relief Road that I was referring to, and this would link through to the Norwood Farm site, which has outline approval as well for residential development. It's just an aerial view of the site. You've got St Crispin's to the north of the site, and then relatively at the moment relatively undeveloped land to the south and the west, but this is due for development on that western boundary there. So this was the master plan that's got approval in principle. The yellow indicates the extent of residential development. You have the primary school in the centre of the site, and then community facilities, which would comprise the redevelopment of some existing buildings on site, and then areas of drainage and flood mitigation scattered throughout the site, and areas, pockets of open space, existing area of retained woodland in that northeastern corner, and again open space to the south, and again on the eastern boundary there. So as I say, since committee resolution, discussions have been ongoing in respect of the 106. The applicants, Homes England, are seeking to amend a number of conditions to align more with the phased delivery of the site. It's for quite a number of homes, so it's quite normal for phased delivery to come forward, for sites to come forward in a phased approach when they're this large. And also the potential that the site may be developed out by more than one developer. In terms of the application proposals, planning policy, and any technical documents that supported the original scheme, they all remain unchanged. So the scheme in essence is exactly the same as was considered by committee back in July 2019. So in respect of consideration for tonight, it's purely in respect to the proposed changes to a number of conditions, predominantly in relation to allowing for a more phased approach to the delivery of drainage on site, and referring to the specific approved travel plan. In terms of section 106 requirements, they remain as set out in the previous report and set out in this current report. And there remains an obligation for the delivery of 15% affordable housing on the site. So officer recommendation is for approval in principle, subject to the completion of a section 106 and the conditions as amended and set out in this latest report. And also to seek delegated powers to amend or add conditions as necessary in agreement with the head of planning and chair of committee in view of the size of the development. Conditions are quite, quite often conditions do need final tweaking. And also in the event that the section 106 isn't completed within 3 months, for the head of planning to have consideration as to whether to extend that period or not. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Nikki. Thank you. Committee, you probably see that there is no speakers for this particular item. So if there's any questions, it's direct to Nikki. Has anybody got any questions? Councillor McCutcheon, Arthur, good evening. I can see you have. Would you like to ask the question? Arthur, you need to unmute yourself. Arthur, you're on mute. Arthur, that's it. Done? Can hear you now. Yeah, carry on.
Can you, Nikki, refresh my memory? Presumably, we were unhappy about the less than 35% affordable homes, and presumably this was costed out. I can't see anything referring to that on the summary of conditions here. Now, can you refresh my memory? Did we do that?
Yeah, through you, Chair. If you refer back to the previous report attached to this latest report, the application was subject to a viability assessment at the time. There were quite a few historic costs in relation to the road that's actually present on site at the moment. So it was subject to viability assessment at the time, and in essence, that those circumstances haven't changed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicky.
Thank you, Chair.
All right. Thank you, Arthur. Okay. Did you want a supplementary? Did you want a supplementary, Arthur? Yeah.
Please, if you would. Well, it's a slightly different one. And that is, floodplains used to be of concern to us here at Upton. And I've seen no markings and comment about the floodplains there. It's becoming an increasingly interesting thing. Again, I was wondering, presumably there is a flood report. And are we looking at flooding at 50-year, 100-year, 150-year limits?
Nicky?
You check that the site is in essentially a low risk, so it's flood zone 1, which is the lower risk site. The application it was subject to a flood risk assessment, and that remains, as I say, that the technical documents and details haven't changed in relation to the site. So it is subject to a flood risk assessment, and there are a number of drainage conditions attached, some of which are thought to be amended for this phased approach for the development as part of this current report.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Arthur. Thank you, Nicky. Anyone else got any questions to ask of Nicky on this report? Councillor Markham, Brian. Yeah.
Yeah, I did raise my hand, Chair, but Nicky, you referred to ongoing discussions on section 106, and in fact the addendum, I think, mentions it. I've only, I was looking through this report. I guess it's in the copy attached to the previous report. Could you just remind us what section 106, in addition to those conditions there, and SIL things were attached previously?
Yeah, through you, Chair, the section 106 requirements are set out at in paragraph 1.1 of this latest report. So it does include 15% affordable housing. There were some off-site highway improvements.
Sorry, that saved you going through again, Nicky. I didn't realise that they were section 106.
Are you all right? Purely to refer? Okay.
Yeah, I thought they were in addition to section 106. Yeah.
No, the section 106 requirements remain the same, and they're reiterated at paragraph 1.1. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? No.
Nobody's indicating, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ed. Comments committee, any comments, please? Councillor Markham, Brian?
Just to say, the report's clear that this goes back a long way as land, a site allocated for development, and there's still a long way to go, I think, before all of those 1,400 are included. I think comment what I did last time in 2019. It's a great shame that none of these developments out there appear to include any provision for a park and ride or any other system of transportation into the town. Whereas way back in the local plan 1997, they were possibilities. As you know, Chair, I don't drive at the moment, but recently I was driven out towards Junction 16, and there are so many new sites being developed, at both housing and commercial use. Just a great shame that at some stage, whatever form of public transport or park and ride, the opportunity I think is being missed. But I mean, there is mention of sustainable transport in here, but I doubt if it's going to be enough. But that's not just down to this development.
Fine, thank you. Anyone else got any comments? Okay, I see anybody indicating myself. Well, the officer's recommendation is for approval in principle to the completion of Section 106 agreement to secure what it's outlined on page 3, 1.1. Do I have a proposal that we accept the officer's recommendation to approve it? Councillor Kilbyshaw, Sam, yeah. A seconder, Councillor McCutcheon, Arthur. All those in favour that we accept the officer's recommendation for approval?
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you, committee. Thank you. Right. We now come on to item 10C because 10B was withdrawn, committee. So this is item 10C on page 65, which is change of use of a building to a house in multiple occupation for 5 occupants at 52 King Edward Road. Adam, I believe this is your report. Would you like to present it, please?
Thank you, Chair. The application site seeks a change of use from a terrace property to a 5-bed house in multiple occupation. There are no updates in the addendum. The application site is located to the south side of King Edward Road. It's close to Abington Park to the east, Billing Road to the south, and Wellingborough Road to the northwest. In terms of the HIMO concentration within the 50-metre radius, there are 3 HIMOs, including the applications. It would be a 6.5% concentration, which is well within the 10% threshold. Moving on to photographs. Here we have a photograph at the front, and it's the house here with the 2-bay windows. A photograph looking at the rear elevation of the property, the back of the yard. There are 4 ground floor photographs, one in the front, looking out to the back, and then there's 2. This is the first one in the outrigger at the back, and the second one in the outrigger at the back, and 2 upper floor pictures from bedrooms in the upper floor. In terms of the plans, we've got the proposed plans here, and you can see that the ground floor would have 2 bedrooms on the ground floor, and then a large open plan lounge kitchen area with a downstairs toilet in that area. On the first floor, there would be 1, 2, 3 bedrooms, and then there would be 2 bathrooms. One would have a bath in the bathroom, as well as a toilet and the sink. The other one would have a shower, a toilet and a sink. At this point, it's worth highlighting the application follows a previous delegated refusal. The previous application was refused because the property previously was laid out with a utility in this area here, so there was only a limited shared communal area. So the applicants removed the utility and opened it up to be an open plan area. On these plans, last point to highlight, there's room in the rear garden for a cycle shed and a bin store, and these are addressed by condition. To finish, the officer recommendation is to approve subject to conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Adam. Once again, committee, we have no speakers on this, so it's questions straight to Adam from any of the committee members. Committee, anyone got any questions to direct to Adam on this report?
Councillor Kilbyshaw is indicating, Chair.
Well, sorry, I missed that, Sam. Sorry, beg your pardon. Please, ask your question, Sam.
Okay, thank you, Chair. My question just revolves around the toilet on the ground floor. It seems to be between the kitchen and the lounge. Is that something that's acceptable in light of the location?
Yeah, there's no planning reason to resist a kitchen in that location. Sorry, a kitchen and a toilet in that location.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. Anyone else got any questions to ask of Adam, committee? Okay.
No indications, Chair.
Thank you. Comments then, committee. Anyone got any comments, please? Councillor Catherine Russell. Catherine, please. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll come to you, Arthur. Yeah, in a minute.
Thank you. I'm pleased that the first floor has got the bathroom and the shower with the right, or with a good number of lavatories, but the ground floor certainly just has the lavatory. And we are, or rather I thought the committee was of the opinion that it would be a very good thing to do to improve the facilities and resource, or not resources, but the facilities that people have in HIMOs. I find, I will support this application, but I still find just having one lavatory downstairs when there's 2 bedrooms there, I think that's still not good enough.
Thank you, Catherine. Councillor McCutcheon, Arthur, yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. My question and comment is largely along the same lines, and that is, we seem to have abandoned our ambition for ensuite for every bedroom in a HIMO now. I think it's a worthy ambition, and perhaps one that we should try for with perhaps more courage for the future, and see whether we can invest a bit of money in making it awkward for people to make such an application. But certainly, yes, permissions that we've been giving recently, we couldn't properly refuse this one, but I would like to see us being more ambitious about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur. Thank you very much. That was part comment as well, but I'll take that. Anyone else got any questions?
Councillor Birch
Jane.
indicated.
Yeah, thank you, Maisie. Yes, Jane.
Can I, thank you, Chair. Can I echo that, please? Because I don't consider these facilities sufficiently, I don't think it provides sufficient facilities for 5 people who don't know each other. 2 ground floor bedrooms having to use a toilet that is in a communal area. Only 2 bathrooms upstairs, a shower and a bath, and 2 more toilets. I don't consider this to be the sort of accommodation that we should be approving of. I know it's difficult, with planning law, but can we? I will always speak out about this. I know it can't, it doesn't transgress any kind of planning law, but I don't think these are, this is providing the kind of accommodation that we want our residents to be living in. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Anyone else got on? Well, we seem to have questions and comments there, coupled together. So, Adam, before I go on to the next stage, is there anything you want to come back on that's been said?
Yeah, I'll just take the opportunity to do. I've got a quick screen share. I've opened the SPD on housing and multiple occupation, and it might help members understand where officers are coming from. So you can probably see the table here of the number of bathrooms, but it sort of sets out for us. And I don't know, I can enlarge it a little. That might help. For 5 people, which is what this application is. The guidance that we're working within presently sets out that the minimum provision is 1 bathroom with a bath or shower and 1 separate toilet with wash hand basin. And it says that separate toilet can be in a 2nd bathroom. So the minimum provision for in the standards that we're following that is adopted by the council is 1 bathroom and 1 separate toilet facility. So that's where the officers are coming from in the recommendation.
But you're saying this exceeds that, Adam?
This exceeds that by 1 bathroom.
Right. Well, okay. There's no more. Sorry, Catherine. Councillor Russell. Yeah. You got.
I'm sure you're right, Adam, and I don't think any of us are in any doubt that you've got the right, you're doing the right thing with these applications. However, those applications were made before COVID, before pandemic, and before people are having to self-isolate or even shield. And I know that we're all hoping at some stage that this virus will go away and we'll all start to live in a way to which we were accustomed a couple of 18 months ago or so. But at the moment, the difficulty is that most people will not be able to self-isolate with those particular, using those resources, those facilities.
Yeah, the only thing about you're right, Catherine. I do empathise with your comments there. The National Planning Policy Framework has, if you like, not moved with the COVID situation. We are where we are. I totally agree and hope that we can see the back end of this dreadful disease. But having said that, what we have in front of us is the officer's recommendation under the climate of the National Planning Policy Framework on IMOs, and that's what we've got. And we've got to find reasonable planning grounds to, as Arthur referred to refuse it. And on planning material conditions, that they're not there. But then again, that is my opinion. But we are to the point now, and it's been thoroughly debated. I appreciate people's comments, but we've come now to the voting side of it, and the officer's recommendation, based on what's been laid before you, is for approval. Do I have a proposal to accept the officer's recommendation, notwithstanding the comments that's been made, of course? Councillor Kilby-Shaw, Sam, yeah. Proposing seconder, Councillor Russell, Catherine, thank you. All those in favour to accept the officer's report to accept the approval of this application?
I count 4 hands, Chair.
Those against? Abstentions?
2 abstentions.
So it's 4 for approval, 2 abstentions. So in that democratic way, the application is approved. Thank you very much, committee. Right, we now come on to item 10D on page 73. Anna, this is your report. I think you've jumped in to take this report, which is a change of use from a charity shop, use class E, to a hot food takeaway sui generis at Kings Heath Post Office 2 Park Square. Anna, would you like to present the report, please?
Thank you, Chair. This is the application site at the end of an existing parade of shops. So it's the end unit. Just show you an aerial view. So you can see the application site is located next to the school here and the community centre, and then the playing fields as well. It's largely residential in area, but this is a parade of shops and businesses in this area. So just some photographs of the unit. So we're looking at this unit here, which has been vacant for some time. And this is the rear of the unit, and it includes the whole of the ground floor. As current, the last use was as a charity shop, but it has been vacant for some time. So it was a charity shop, office, and then storerooms at the back. The application proposes a takeaway. So at the front, you would have a seating and waiting area, serving area, and then order preparation and your kitchen, and then an internal bin store at the back as well. The only external change is the insertion of a flue to serve the kitchen. So if we look at the elevations, this is the flue. So you can see it's quite small. And Public Protection have been consulted on the scheme and raised no objection to the proposal. It is considered that as the proposal brings the vacant unit back into use, and that the proposal also would not harm neighbouring amenity or the appearance of the area, it is recommended the scheme be for approval with conditions, and these conditions include the extraction system to be provided, details on grease and fat disposal, waste collection and opening hours. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Hannah. Thank you very much. Committee, once again, we have no speakers on this, so it's any questions directly to Anna. Councillor McCutcheon, Arthur, and Councillor Mark and Brian, you both got your hands up, I see. So, Arthur, would you like to lead in with a question, please? You could unmute yourself, Arthur. Unmute yourself.
Thank you. I was wondering, did we consult with the Education Authority in this respect? Because generally speaking, there's a prejudice against takeaway shops next door to schools.
Anna?
Thank you, Chair. No, I don't believe we did consult the education. We wouldn't normally for this type of application. Our planning policies are more whether the change of use is acceptable. We don't have a policy against provision next to schools. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Councillor Markham, Brian.
Thank you, Chair. It's called the takeaway, but at the moment, and probably very much in the future, of course, takeaways survive mainly by delivery service. I can't recollect, it's a large site. I guess each of the shop units has some parking facilities or some way at the back to, that they can pick up and take away. As for the vicinity of the school, the local plan part 2 we approved the other night does actually mention how near to no takeaways or fast, or well, I don't think it says takeaways, it says fast food outlets within schools, but of course that doesn't apply yet because it's out for consultation, I guess.
All right, thank you, Brian. Anyone else got any questions? Councillor Birch, Jane, yeah.
There's a question, sorry, Chair, there was a question about parking. Is there sufficient parking if they're deliveries?
Excuse me, Anna, yeah. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so the units don't have allocated parking for customers. It's sort of a shared parking area for all of the units there. They have the rear service yard at the back, which leads to the bin store and everything. It was considered that it would be acceptable. There wasn't likely to be a highway impact from the development.
Right, sorry about that, Brian. Jane, apologies. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We did actually pass a policy at the council that there would not be a fast food or takeaway service within 400 metres of a school. As part of a sort of drive for healthy eating and to discourage young, children, young people from eating sort of fast food, healthy living promotion and that sort of thing. So I don't know if the policies that we pass at council affect planning. Maybe Hannah could answer that.
Thank you, Jane. Anna?
Thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering if Peter might be able to help with that.
Yeah, thank you, Hannah. The planning policy contained in the local plan part 2, as Councillor Markham mentioned, has been agreed to submit. However, that does not have sufficient weight to be able to refuse this at this point in time. Any other policies, and I'm not sure, Councillor Birch, which policy you might be referring to, but to be given weight in planning terms would need to be subject to full consultation. They would need to be sustainability appraised in the way that planning policies would be. So I would advise that you stick to the adopted current planning policies. However, once the local plan part 2 proceeds, then we can certainly start attaching more weight to that policy, and specifically the one about the takeaways in proximity to schools. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Peter. Thank you. Has anyone else got any questions to ask of Anna, please, before I go to comments?
No indications, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ed. Right, committee, it's now comments on the application. Any comments, please? No?
No one indicating, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ed.
I beg your pardon, Councillor Kilbyshaw is indicating. I
beg your pardon, Sam, didn't see it. Sam, go on.
That's all right, Chair. I'd just like to say that, as Councillor Birch has mentioned, I don't really think it's appropriate to have a takeaway located that close to a school. So I'm going to reluctantly approve this, but I prefer that there was more weight attached to not having those facilities so close to a school.
I appreciate what you're saying, Sam. I think Peter has touched on that when local plan part 2 is up and running, it will have that weight that we're going to probably put the weight to it that you've just mentioned and James referred to as well. Yeah, I take your point. So thank you for that. So committee, the recommendation by the officers is for approval. for this application. Do I have a proposal to accept the officer's recommendation, please? Councillor Morecambe, Brian, thank you very much. Proposing. Seconder, please. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kilby-Shaw, Sam, thank you very much. All those in favour that we accept the officer's recommendation for approval? Looks pretty.
6 chairs, 6 hands, Chair. That's unanimous.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, committee. Thank you. There's no late joiners yet, Maisie, I take it? No, none of the committee members have joined late yet?
No, Chair.
Thank you very much. So right now then, committee, we go on to item 10E on page 79. Change of use from a dwelling house to children's home to accommodate a maximum of 4 children, 8 to 18 years old, at 29 Colonial Drive in East Hunsbury. Nikki, I believe this is your report, or you're going to present it. Would you kindly do so, please?
Thank you, Chair. So just to note, we've had some additional comments for the addendum and additional neighbour letter, raising concerns essentially regarding the suitability of the location of the property on a private drive for a children's home, and the impact on the shared driveway, existing parking problems and highway safety and loss of amenity resulting from that. And also that if the proposal is, if members are minded to approve the proposal, it should be for a maximum of 3 children, as there's not sufficient space for 4. These matters that raised here, they are covered in the officer report. So this is the application here outlined in red. As you can see, it's off a shared driveway. This is Colonial Drive in the dark grey running to the south of the site. And the application site includes a detached garage, which is attached to a garage to a neighbouring property, with that garage is accessed from the opposite side. And just to note, there's reasonable sized gardens and distances to properties to the rear there. So just an aerial view, properties in a predominantly residential area. And just a close-up of the shared driveway. So this is the application site here, and the double detached garage and parking to the front. And you can see there, there's an area of grass there that's forms part of the application site and is currently used for informal parking. And this is just a street view that the access goes through there, and the properties just behind those trees, properties there and the garage, but just shows you the shared driveway from another view. So this is the application property itself. It's a 4-bedroom property. And then just views of the rear garden. So that's looking to the rear, to the properties behind, and then back towards the application property. This is a closer up view of the parking. So you've got the double garage to the right hand side there, an area of hard surface to the front of the house. And as you can see, as I refer to, that area of grass is currently used as informal parking. And we're just a further view of the double garage. So this is internal plans of the property. On the ground floor, you've got a lounge diner and separate kitchen area, and then a utility, downstairs toilet and study area. Upstairs, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms, a family bathroom there, and this bedroom to the front has an ensuite. The use of the premises as proposed is for a maximum of 4 children between the ages of 8 to 18. And the intention is that those children will be looked after by carers 24/7, and it would comprise a maximum of 3 carers on site at any one time, which would include an Ofsted registered manager to oversee the running of the home, and they'd be present during the day. The intention is to provide the children with a family home environment, essentially, at the property. Staff would work on a rota basis with 2 carers on site from 8 AM to 8 PM, and as I say, a manager present during the day, and then 1 carer overnight who would be awake and supervising, with another carer on call during the nighttime period. In respect of visitors to the site, they're expected to be professionals such as social workers or Ofsted workers, and generally that would occur every 5 weeks. The family members would not be visiting the site. Separate arrangements would be made for family visits to be made away from the site. Officer opinion is that the proposed use is broadly similar to that of a large family dwelling, albeit there will be 1 additional adult present during the day. But the comings and goings, in view of the limited number of staff involved and number of visits, approximately every 5 weeks, is considered on balance comparable to that of a family dwelling. Concerns have been raised regarding antisocial behaviour. However, as I've said, that there would be staff present on site at all times with a manager present during the day, and the care home would be subject to Ofsted regulation. In terms of parking provision, that would comprise, as we've seen, the existing garage, although it's shown as a double garage. In respect of county parking standards, a double garage would count as a single space, but there's 2 spaces to the front of the garage, so those are the formal parking standards to provide a minimum of 3 spaces on site. No comments have been received from the Highway Authority. However, officer opinion is that there is an appropriate level of parking that could be provided on site to meet the needs of the premises. Condition 3, as proposed, would restrict the number of occupants to 4 children within the proposed age range. And condition 7 would restrict the number of staff on site to no more than 3 at any one time to ensure that there is control over the extent of comings and goings to the site. It's also worth noting that use class C3B, which also covers the use of a property as a dwelling house, does allow for up to 6 people living together as a single household and receiving care. Admittedly, this proposal would have 1 additional adult during the day, but officer opinion is there is a comparison to use, as I say, as a dwelling and the proposed use. So on balance, the proposal is considered acceptable, and officer recommendation is for approval. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Nikki. Committee, right, for the first time of this evening's agenda, we do have speakers for this particular item. I'll call them as I've got them listed. And when I say to speakers, for those who have not done this before, each speaker gets 3 minutes. 3 minutes, no more, no less. And when they finish speaking, if they'll just remain online, so to speak, so that the committee can ask any questions if they feel they need to do so. So you'll have 3 minutes, and a member of the Democratic Services will be timing you, and they will let you know when, or let me know when the time is up, and we have to bring the curtain down straight away after 3 minutes. So I call upon Mr. Donald Hunter Brown, please. Mr. Hunter Brown.
Hello.
Good evening to you.
Good evening.
And if you'd identify yourself, Mr. Hunter Brown, as in what capacity you speak, please.
Hello, I'm Donald Hunter Brown. I'm one of the residents of the shared driveway number 25.
Okay, you have 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. To explain our position, we live in one of the 4 properties on the shared driveway. We lived here for 20 years. So we know the location well, and we've had first-hand experience of the parking issues and so on. The layout of the shared driveway is what distinguishes this from other properties that have been approved recently for planning. We hope you've had time to do a site visit. Various members of East Hunsbury Parish Council did a site visit. And they saw the layout, and they could see the actual problems that relate to the parking, and particularly manoeuvring on the driveway. The planning statement concedes there will be increased comings and goings from the neighbouring properties, and it will have a substantial impact for us. Another factor is we need to recognise that the proposed staffing levels could all change on day 1, because the staffing levels and shift patterns are all dependent, quite rightly, on the needs of the children. So while things are positioned now to say, well, it won't be terribly much, it could well change at a later date. On the second point, regarding the size of the property, It's of a similar size to the property at Ditchford of 130 square metres that had 3 children, and also properties also by GAC Services of 130 square metres. And we think it should be, if it is approved, a maximum of 3 children, on the basis that the nighttime carer, you can't guarantee that he or she may not need to sleep in the property at some point. And the study at 2.6 by 1.8 metres is insufficient to put a bed, a chair and a desk in a room that size. It also has a dog leg in it, which makes it impossible to do those things. And if you've got a nighttime carer, he or she should have the opportunity of appropriate accommodation. There's been 10 other properties that have been approved in the past 12 months by Northampton Borough Council, and all of them have had an appropriate carer's stroke bedroom of an acceptable size. We very much hope the application will be refused, but if it is minded to be approved, then we feel it should be for a maximum of 3 children. Based on some of the previous comments about ensuite bedrooms, maybe children's homes should also have ensuite bedrooms and appropriate accommodation.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter-Brown. If you just remain there in case the committee's got any questions to ask of you, please. Committee, any questions to ask of Mr. Hunter-Brown, please? No,
nobody's indicating, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter-Brown. Thank you. I now call upon Councillor Phil Larrot, please. Good evening, Phil. If you just identify yourself, we don't need any reminding, but in what capacity you speak for the record, please.
Good evening, Chair. Councillor Phil Larrot, I represent East Hunsbury Ward. I'm appearing here tonight on behalf of the residents of Colonial Drive. I'll just say it's a shame that we're meeting before the 1st of April, when of course we will have highways personnel here, and then they could be accountable for what they're advising us.
Is that it, Phil? Yeah.
No,
okay.
That was my introduction.
Is that your statement? Is that it? Yeah.
No, that was my introduction, Chair.
Okay, so you have 3 minutes now. Okay, all right.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I'm here very much to echo the concerns raised by Mr. Hunter-Brown. I'm not opposed to houses like this being used as children's homes, but I am concerned that the issues with this particular property and the shared drive. I accept that there's 3 easily accessible car parking spaces. I don't believe that the garage will be used as a car parking space. If it was, then there'd be access for 4, but I just don't think that will happen. It never does. I just feel that to have all these cars parked on a shared drive, there will be significant conflict with the existing residents, which is going to impact on their amenity. Now, I hear it said that there's going to be visitors to the site. I fully appreciate that. 4 children, 4 social workers, others as well. There might be education specialists, there might be health specialists, and all that, visiting throughout the day, every day of the week. Now, I hear it said that social workers visit only every 5 weeks. Well, that's not true, because it depends on the requirements of the individual children. There could be needs where a child is new to care, where social workers are visiting more or less on a daily basis. So, you know, I don't think you can say as one fit for the number of visits by social workers. I think as well, the report talks about staffing levels. I think staffing levels, as Mr. Hunter-Brown said, will vary according to the needs of the individual children. So it could well be that there's so many carers now, but that could very well increase if you get a child brought into care with special needs. That will bring more staff to the site as well. If vehicles have to park on the road, it's not an easy road. It's a bit of a winding road. There are other accesses off it. And and I fail to see how vehicles will park on that road with only the footpath on one side of the road, how they will park on there without obstructing the footpath, which again is going to impact on local residents. I think, Chair, while fully accepting the use of a property such as this, I do feel that on this particular instance, where you've got a shared driveway and bringing so many cars, or more than what the report talks about is highly possible, I do think that it's inappropriate and will impact significally on the amenity of the existing residents. And I think their views really should be taken into account. Was all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much, Phil. Committee, has anybody got any questions to ask of Councillor Larrot, please? Any statement?
No indications, Chair.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you very much. I now call upon...
Yeah, I've got to leave for another meeting. So my apologies.
That's okay. I'll now call upon Mr. Sandy Zulu, please. I hope I've got the pronunciation right. Mr. Zulu? Is it Mr. Zulu?
Thank you, Chairman. It's,
I do apologise.
That's all right, Chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm Thandi Zulu, Chartered Planning Consultant. I am representing GAC Family Services. The application property is number 29 Colonial Drive, which is a detached two-story dwelling with 4 bedrooms at first floor and 1 is en suite, a study at ground floor, a lounge, dining, kitchen, a utility room, and a downstairs toilet. There is also a detached double garage, which belongs to the applicant, as well as an informal planning parking space, as mentioned by the case officer. The application property is accessed via a shared driveway with 3 other properties. The application proposes to change the use of the property from a C3 dwelling to a children's home for a maximum of 4 children. And the children will live as a family unit, a single family unit. They'll be looked after by carers 24/7. There'll be no staff living permanently at the property. Staff will be working on a shift basis. There will be an Ofsted registered manager during the day on duty. And there'll be no visitors allowed at the property except for professionals, such as social workers and Ofsted workers who normally would come by appointment or if there is an emergency to attend to an emergency. Then in terms of parking, as I said before, there is space for a minimum of 3 cars. And with 3 staff on duty, I think the parking spaces are enough. Right. The carers will look after the children in the setup of a family home. And in terms of neighbour amenity, whilst neighbours raise concerns regarding the impact of the development on their amenity, I would like to assure neighbours that the home will be well managed. We have qualified professionals, a responsible individual, as well as an Ofsted manager, who are going to make sure that the home is properly managed and all nuisance will be kept to a minimum. And officers can actually condition the development such that the number of children that will be looked after at the property will be restricted, and such that the number of cars that can be accommodated at the property can be restricted. And as such, in that way, there will be no nuisance caused to neighbours and no nuisance caused to the highway safety of users of the highway. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Tandy. Thank you very much. Has anyone got any questions to ask of Tandy, please, committee? Right, I'll see Catherine, Councillor Russell and Councillor Burt. Catherine, if you'd like to go first, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Tandy. Thank you for being here tonight. If somebody parked selfishly, if somebody visiting your property parked selfishly and the residents were finding themselves in a difficult situation with this, would they have a manager's contact details, mobile phone, so that they could text or phone and say, there's a car blocking our way, or we're not happy with the way this person is using this amenity? And if so, would the managers, whoever's there, would it be made clear to them that they have to take into account the neighbours' views? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kingsley. Yes, the home will have a mobile phone that will be used by the manager on duty, and that number will be made available to the neighbours, the 3 neighbours that share driveway with the application property. And the home is more than happy to work alongside with neighbours. We would want to work with the neighbours and be sympathetic to them, because this is a residential area and we would not want to disturb their quietness, their leisure time, and we would always aim to be very considerate. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Tandy. Councillor Birch, Jane, yeah.
Thank you, Tandy. Can I ask, is that I've just looked up DAC Family Services, and 29 Colonial Drive is already posted on that website as one of your homes. So is it in use at the moment, or is this, are you expecting this application to be approved?
Thank you, Chairman. We are expecting, well, we are hoping the application will be improved. The property is actually occupied by the owner at the moment. It's not in use as a children's home. And in order for the property to be used as a children's home, the requirement is that there should be a planning permission in place. Without a planning permission, the application for the Ofsted license cannot be processed. It can't be validated without planning permission. Thank you, Chairman.
Could I have just one more question there?
Yeah,
please, Chair.
Go on, Jane.
Right. Has your organisation got a complaints procedure? Because obviously it's different if somebody's just parked inconsiderately. That's a simple matter to resolve. But if there are really substantial concerns of neighbours, what is your complaints procedure for them to follow and for you to respond to?
Thank you, Chairman. We do have a list of policies that we have in place which are required by Ofsted when the application for a license is submitted. And when one of the policies relates to complaints. And the next speaker is the responsible individual. He's the one who deals with the policies. He may shed a bit of light on that aspect. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else got any questions to ask of Tandy, please? No? Okay. Thank you, Tandy. Thank you very much. And I'll call upon Mr. Mark Easy, please. Mr. Mark Easy, are you there?
Mr. Easy isn't in the meeting, Chair.
He isn't?
No.
Well, it's going to be very difficult for him to speak then. Thank you. Okay, Ed. Thank you very much. So, okay, so it's left to say that Mr. Easy will not be speaking. Right, before I throw it open to questions to you, Nikki, do you want to come back on anything that's been said by the speakers?
No, nothing, no further comments from me at the moment, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, committee, it's now then questions to Nikki, please. Any questions to Nikki, please? Councillor Markham, Brian, yeah.
Thank you, Chair. That's Nikki. I tried to zoom in on the plans that Nikki showed earlier. There was comment, the unusual factor, I seem to remember that the facilities for the overnight family member, if a care worker, whatever they're called, that will be there on the ground floor. I think the important that the family bathroom, that the care worker who's there in the evening, I would have thought has a bed, but maybe they don't, but certainly has private bathroom, toilet and other facilities. And I wasn't quite sure what facilities, apart from an ordinary study which exists as a family in the family home, they need more than that. I'm just not clear what facilities are there, and are they private getting changed, getting washed, whatever, and sleeping if they are, although I seem to recall that they wouldn't be sleeping, but that seems unusual as well if it's a family dwelling.
Nikki?
Okay, if I just share the screen again. So this is the ground floor here. This is the study that's intended to be sort of effectively provide a space, and then there's a separate toilet there.
A toilet with the wash.
No, the information that's been provided to us is that the carer would actually be awake. So whoever's on night shift isn't going there to sleep. They would actually be awake and effectively working during the night. So, but
sorry, shouldn't a toilet have a wash hand basin, especially in the current?
It's not got the specific details of the toilet, but it can be safely assumed that would be a toilet and a wash hand basin within that facility.
So was it true? Sorry to continue, Chair. Mr. Hunter Brown mentioned that, and I seem to recall that other children's home applications or have had sleeping accommodation, or at least rest accommodation for the person who's there overnight. But wouldn't be sure whether. But I seem to recall that generally they do have a sleeping facility.
Some do. It's not what's proposed under this current application. And as I say, that the details provided to us are advising that the carer would be there and essentially be awake and working during the night. So not there to sleep over during the nighttime shift. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Nikki. Right, there's no more questions to Nikki. Comments, committee. Any comments, please?
Councillor Brian Markham and Councillor Birch are indicating, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Birch, Jane, yeah.
Thank you, Chair. I do know that family groups, family homes for children that we have in care are often the very best place for those young people to live and to develop. My concern is that this organisation does actually accommodate children with special needs to quite a large degree. And I was just thinking, for young people between the ages of 8 and 18, is you're dealing with adults, and I think I would agree with Mr. Hunter Brown that 4 are too many. 3 children that are very demanding, young people that are very demanding, would be a challenge for anybody, especially one person, overnight. And I would prefer to see this accommodation to reduce to 3.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Councillor Markham. Brian, I've seen you.
Thank you, Chair. You and I know that quite often, well, every children's home, the accommodation for children like this, sometimes we get objections, and which are quite absurd, to be quite honest, and for a well-managed home, and actually, got sometimes the people put in complaints that there are no empathy with needs of children or growing up. But I do feel in this case, in the ground, the parking and traffic, if you like, issues with the shared drive are a concern. I also think it's a concern that maybe the accommodation on the ground floor for the workers, but is not up to scratch. It would be better, I think, with 3 children there, because it gives more flexibility for the number of people visiting the site. I have to say that shared driveway layout, if there was a family there with 4 bedrooms and 3 teenagers, or in fact so many adult children living at home these days, there could well be parking difficulties with a shared drive, and maybe the staff at a care home would be more considerate of the neighbours' parking than adult children or teenagers. But this is an application here where we have a chance to have an event. And I do share the concerns about that shared access, because Councillor Birch is quite right. If there are lots of reasons where more than in emergency, different people will be needed to visit that home. So I think on the parking and access grounds, on those, that it's overdevelopment, if you like. Four is too many, because there could be lots of help needed for those 4 young people.
Oh, thank you, Ryan. Councillor Russell. Catherine, yeah.
Thank you. I agree with Councillor Birch and Markham concerning a crowded situation there. And I think Mr. Hunter Brown has indicated that if the number was dropped to 3, they would be at least feel a lot more comfortable about the home being there and the use of the amenities. So if GAC Family Services would be prepared to resubmit their application, they may find that it would be more acceptable.
Thank you, Catherine. There's no one else. Well, I've got some comments on this. I've been concerned and troubled by the shared parking, and I've kept it off. I've seen and heard what the rest of the committee have said. I have no problems in principle with the idea of these sort of properties, or the applications for these sort of properties. No problem with it in principle whatsoever. In fact, I'm supportive of it in general. But in this particular case, the shared parking does cause me a great deal of concern. This to say how this house, where this house is, it's a right church, but it's in the wrong pew. It's just not ideal in this location. I've done my own little mini site survey, and I do Mr. Site surveys, and in answer to Mr. Hunter Brown, since COVID's come out and hit us, we don't do site surveys, which is a shame, but that's how it is. But I did go around and have a look at this. The shared parking, or the shared access rather, is very tight. It's tight in itself, and it's right on a bend. If somebody was coming out there, anyone coming in at the same time would have to stay on the road, which is tight as it is on Colonial Drive, to let somebody out. I'm really not comfortable with it, and I normally support these sort of applications, but in this particular case, with the shared access being tight and the Colonial Drive, it's tight in itself, really. It's not a really good through road. I'm of a mind, unusually, to say that I don't think on that basis, and it could cause problems. It could really cause problems, and I'm surprised that Highways have not made any comments on this, but that's their way. I don't think I'm comfortable in supporting this, but that's me. I'm just one vote. But that's where we are. The report's been put very, very well by Nikki. No reflection on that. But I do share the concerns of the shared access. I'm not happy with it. It is tight. The road is tight. It's on a bend. I just think it could cause and create an accident. But that's me. But so therefore, I don't think in this particular case, as much as I approve the applications in principle on these sort of things, I don't think on that basis, on the shared access, that I could support it. But that's just me. But the officer's recommendation is for approval. So do I have a committee member that would propose that we accept the officer's recommendation for approval?
Councillor Kilbyshaw is indicating, Chair.
Oh, sorry, Sam, didn't see it. Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
No one's indicating.
I think Councillor McCutcheon was indicating. I'm not sure if he wanted to speak.
Did you want to speak, or was you seconding it, Arthur? Like, you're on mute, Arthur. Go on, Arthur, I can hear you. No, you've gone back on mute again, Arthur.
How's that now?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Right. Thank you. Yes, I was wondering, Chairman, if it might be of use to propose along the lines that you were suggesting and other members were suggesting, that we would be of a mind to pass this on principle, but that at the present time it's an overdevelopment, and that if it came back with another proposition for 3 maximum number of children, that it would be viewed.
Well, if I can answer from my perspective on that, Arthur, to me, 3 or 4 doesn't alter the shared access tightness in any way, shape or form. The tightness of the shared access, as I see it, is the same for 3 or 4 people. That's the principal reason. And I would look at E20 where it says, it's one of the local plan policies that's still in evidence. In terms of layout and siting, it's the siting. It's to say where it's the right church, but it's the wrong pew, as I said. And H29 on the local plan is still in existence, I believe. Peter or Nikki could correct me on that. It says the parking requirement can be accommodated within the site, and the traffic generated by the development would not increase traffic congestion or be a danger to road safety. And it's with that I've got a concern, and that's why I couldn't support it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Anyway, we've got Councillor Kilby Shaw, who's said he's proposing it. Do we have a seconder? No, Teresa, I need you now, dear. So I believe that makes the application fall in the proper terms, doesn't it not? We don't have a proposed seconder, is that right?
That's correct. Yes, Chair. Do you have an alternative proposal, an alternative recommendation from members?
Well, I suppose I've just said quite a bit to say. I would propose that we don't accept this, we refuse it, but on the grounds of local plan E20, which I've just said, in terms of the adequately reflecting the character of its surroundings, and in terms of layout and siting on E20, and what I said about H29, the parking requirement can be accommodated within the site, and the traffic generated by the development would not increase traffic congestion or be a danger to road safety. I think it's in contravention of that. I'm quite prepared to have it put properly by officers, by Nikki or
Chair,
Peter.
if I can just come in, because I've been listening to members' concerns throughout. If I can suggest something along the lines of, the proposal would represent an unacceptable intensification of the residential use of the property, with increased comings and goings and the potential for increased parking demand, to the detriment of surrounding residential amenity and highway safety, and contrary to the National Planning Policy Framework, policies H1 of the core strategy, which refers to amenity, and S10, which refers more broadly to design, and then to the local plan policies E20 and H29, as you just referred, Chair.
I would be happy with that. I
was just about to propose that. Yes.
Well, that's what I was proposing. So yeah, I don't mind. I'll second Brian. I don't mind. But in broad terms, I'm happy with that, Nikki.
Okay.
So we have that as a proposition. Does the rest of the committee understand that? Yeah. So then all those in, correct me if I'm going the wrong procedure here, Teresa, but all those in favour of that proposition as it's been outlined by Nikki and supported by Councillor Brian Markham and myself.
So, Chair,
sorry, Peter.
Just to clarify, this is members voting to refuse permission on the grounds of over-intensive use and the impact that would have on residential amenity. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. All right. All those in favour of that? So there's
five hands in the air, Chair.
Those against would be Sam. Thank you, Sam. So it's voted for refusal on the grounds that's been outlined. It's 5, 4 and 1 against. So that application is refused in this particular case. Thank you very much for that committee, debating it very well. Thank you for the speakers. Thank you. Right, we now come on to item 10F committee, which is on page
Chair,
87.
I've just admitted Councillor Lane into the meeting.
All right. Good evening, Jamie.
Good evening. How are you?
Yeah, all right. Just before I go on, and thank you very much. Fine. Just before I go on to 10F, I'll just go back to item 4. Any declarations of interest, Jamie?
Good at all, Chair. Sorry for my lateness.
No, there isn't any. You've got no declarations of interest. Thank you very much. That's okay, I understand. Right, we're on to item 10F on page 87 committee, which is a change of use from a care home to supported accommodation for the homeless at Kingsley Nursing Home, 18 to 20 Kingsley Road. Anna, this is your report. Would you like to present it, please?
Thank you, Chair. Just firstly to point you towards the addendum. We've had 2 additional letters, one in support of the application and one objecting to the application. So the comments in support are from someone who has visited the property on a professional basis, and they are talking about how well they think it's run. And the comment against is from a neighbouring property who raises concern with the impact on neighbouring properties, largely due to antisocial behaviour and crime concerns. Just give you a minute to read those. Do let me know if you want longer, otherwise I'll move on to the presentation now.
No, I think I'm all right. I don't know whether there's anybody else got any comments, but no, I think we can move on.
Okay, brilliant, thank you.
No, thank you.
So the application site is here, so it's opposite the racecourse. So as you may remember, we actually looked at the site in March 2019. So it's an existing care home, which forms originally was 2 properties, but it's been one large property for quite some time now. Just an aerial view. You can see it in relation to the racecourse there. This is the front elevation. This is the main entrance. It does have another door down here. However, that's not intended to be an entrance point. It's supposed to be a fire escape only in this application. And then just a photo from the rear. So this is the existing car parking area they have to the rear. And you can just see the rear of the property across here. So this is the site layout. Just to point out on this one, so this is the car park we were just in. There is a what was formerly a very dilapidated garage. It has now been converted into an office associated with what was the care home, and it's now supposed to be an office associated with the proposed use for the homeless supported living. It does have planning permission for that conversion. I've just blown up the floor plans so you can see them more clearly. This is the ground floor. This section here, I'm afraid it wouldn't fit on. So this corridor is the same corridor as here. So there's 3 bedrooms that fit off the back, and those are those 3. The only change to the property's appearance is this window being altered to a door. Other than that, the property would appear exactly the same as it does or did before. The blue entrance doors, as you can see, there was a lot of entrances into this property as original. The blue entrances are all now only fire escapes, and they are alarmed. So these are no longer being used by people to come in and out of the property. The pink entrances are fob controlled entrances, so the staff can lead people in and out of these pink entrances. As you can see, only that door is now the entrance, and the old front door to the other house is now just a fire escape. The ground floor has 13 bedrooms. There's also a large kitchen at ground floor level, a reception, and then a large office space. and they also have the office space in the garage at ground floor. There are quite a few bathrooms, and some of these are en suite. So this is an en suite, for example, another bathroom here. And there's also a washing machine and dryer in this area here, and another bathroom. On the first floor, there are 13 bedrooms again. There's a smaller kitchen area, another washing machine and dryer, and again, a number of bathrooms. Most of these are en suite on the first floor. This is a shared bathroom, but then these are all en suite. And these properties would share, these bedrooms even would share this bathroom. The property has a second floor on one side of the property, and this would have one additional bedroom. There would also be an office where staff would work and a store for the staff. There are basements in the properties, and these are all just to be used for storage for the staff to use. So just to run you through the application. So the application is for a change of use from a nursing home to supported living for the homeless. It's advised that the proposed use is proposed to provide an intensive supportive accommodation for rough sleepers and those at risk of doing so. 27 bedrooms are provided. The care home lawfully could provide 25 bedrooms, so it's an increase of 2 people. The aim of the proposed use is to help service users break any negative behaviour, assist with issues, and make a resettlement plan to reduce the likelihood of these people returning to rough sleeping. They aim to resettle people within 28 days. So they aim that within 28 days, the person would have been moved to a new, more permanent location. However, they will stay longer if they can't find a suitable resettlement option in that time. They work in coordination with specialists, such as social workers, drug counsellors, alcohol counsellors, for example. And they help arrange meetings with specialists, which can be at the property, or quite a lot of these are arranged in other locations where they are based. It's advised that it's likely that at the most, an individual would require 1 specialist visit at the property per week, but that specialist would be likely to see more than 1 person when they do visit. And as I said, there is a parking area at the back, which they could use. All occupiers, or all potential occupiers, are referred to the site and are vetted before they're accepted to move in. So no people can turn up at the site and just move in. They have to first be referred and vetted. No guests or visitors are allowed to the property. Service users live their lives normally and are not made to remain at the property or leave the building between certain times. So they are free to live there and come and go as they wish. However, they have to comply with behaviour agreements. And if they breach these, then the first aim is to work on these issues to try and break the behaviour and get a suitable resettlement. However, if there are continuing issues, they can be removed to another location. The site is staffed 24 hours and there's a minimum of 3 staff at any time on the site. All staff have CCTV access on handheld devices and monitor doors and corridors and communal spaces. There's no entrance to the building without a staff member going and letting a person in or out, and they help move people around the property as a way to really communicate with the people and try and help them with their resettlement plans. Service users are not given keys, so they are escorted around, again, to try and help and get a rapport with the staff. Concerns have been raised by a number of neighbouring properties as the impact of the use on them, with particular regards to crime and antisocial behaviour. Key Stage Housing have provided a detailed information on the management of the property, alongside details provided to neighbour to report any issues, so that these can be looked at as soon as possible and discussed with those service users involved, and actions made for these issues that are occurring. Key Stage Housing have advised that there were issues with regards to users meeting in groups at bus stops, which was raised in neighbour comments. However, as soon as they were made aware of this, they have acted on it and are now monitoring the situation to stop this behaviour. With the management of the site proposed by Key Stage Housing, it is considered that the proposal would not have an unacceptable impact upon neighbouring community above that, which could already occur with the lawful use of the site as a 25-person care home. This care home, as lawful, there is no limit on the type of care being provided. It's considered that any consent should, however, be personal to Key Stage Housing, and this is to ensure that the management techniques that they have outlined are used on site and that another business does not take over the planning permission without us first being sure that their management is also going to be good enough to control behaviour and make sure there isn't an unacceptable impact on neighbours. As well as having a personal permission, we're also proposing conditions limiting the number of occupiers to 27, requiring noise surveys and mitigation for neighbouring properties and bedrooms within the site, requiring crime security measures such as those fob controls, and requiring bin storage details. With these conditions and with a personal consent only, it is considered that the proposed change of use would be acceptable, and it is therefore recommended that the scheme be approved. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Anna. Well, committee, we have two speakers on this. I'll call them as we've got them. I call upon Councillor Stephen Ebert, please. Stephen, good evening to you. If you'd just like to identify, that we don't need you to identify yourself to us, but for the record, in who you are and in what capacity you speak, please, Stephen.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair and Committee. I'm Councillor Stephen Hibbert, Councillor for Riverside Ward. I'm speaking in support of the application, and as you all know, I have a significant interest in dealing with homelessness in the borough.
Thank you.
I'm pleased to see that this is recommended for approval. And I do note the previous planning history that supported living accommodation was approved back in 2019. I note the objections, but equally there are as many people, I believe, written in support of the application. And in terms of those objections to the building itself, I don't accept them at all. I've visited the property. It is a fine development. It has been expertly renovated. I mean, the building work inside is beautiful to see. It provides individual rooms for the guests, lots of ensuite facilities, and it doesn't increase the homelessness problem. It helps solve it, which is what we've been trying to achieve for years. And it particularly provides secure and safe accommodation for women guests too. Key Stage themselves have a good track record and have expressed a willingness to work with the neighbours in dealing with any problems. They operate an excellent facility in Luton, and this too here in Northampton would be permanently staffed. Lots of CCTV coverage, and of course the facility is to provide close and intensive work with the guests to overcome the many issues that require our care, require society's care. This was a care home. Homeless people require care and support to prepare them for a move back into society. This really is an excellent project. I hope you will support it. It certainly has mine. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Hibbert. Thank you very much. Committee, anybody got any questions to ask of Councillor Hibbert? Stephen, please.
Nobody's indicating, Chair.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you very much. And I'll call upon Mr. James O'Grady, please. Good evening, Mr. O'Grady. And if you could just identify yourself and in what capacity you speak for the record, please.
My name is James O'Grady. I'm Director of Key Stage Housing in support of this application.
Okay, good evening to you. Thank you. You have 3 minutes. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Chair. So, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, firstly, I'd like to commend and thank planning officers for the time they took in understanding the need for this service, how it will operate, and its features as set out in the officer's report. Now, I could give you a mountain of statistics and numbers that this application is truly about people, and more to the point, making sure that what we do for every single person counts. Imagine laying out your sodden worldly belongings that you hope will dry overnight in an empty doorway you have found. Safe? Certainly not. Dry? One would hope so, unless the wind changes. Prospect? A disparaging one. There is a great need for homeless accommodation in this area to change what is a serious problem that homelessness presents, and that both the local authority and the government recognises. Without positive action with support and the willingness to make a change, there is the highest risk that more people will die unnecessarily, live a shorter life due to adverse health conditions, or live a life needlessly being judged or condemned by society. These individuals live with great risk of harm, from being taken advantage of by those who seek to prey on them, remain with severe dependency issues, without the knowledge or power to access needed help, and miss the opportunity of real support that can be available now to help restore their life, or simply give a fresh start to. I ask you to support this application and allow us to be upstanding for those unable to stand up for themselves, and offer hope where there is clearly despair. We do recognise the concern as expressed by our community through the comments raised, and based on fear, this can be very scary. But we ask that any concern is pointed in search of understanding and learning that can be both informative and reassuring. We wish that the information being provided and our willingness to do our best for our teams, our service users, and our communities will assure you of our commitment to provide an opportunity of change for those in need, while working in partnership with our community to act and remedy all issues that we have the power to. In its previous use as a nursing home, people generally lived to the end, to the end of their lives. I believe that this place and its environment in such beautiful surroundings will provide and influence a well-being for a fresh start in life, and those that have been conditioned to feel unworthy may benefit from its existence. Thank you for your kind attention and consideration, and if you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. O'Grady. Thank you very much. On that particular note that Mr. O'Grady is invited, does any of the committee need to ask any questions of him? No?
No one's indicating, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. O'Grady. Thank you very much. Right, Anna, before I throw open for the committee to ask you of any questions on what you've heard, is there anything you want to come back on?
No, thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Anna. Right, committee. Any questions to ask of Anna, please? Councillor Kilby-Shaw. Sam, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's just a question regarding the plans. I'm extremely colourblind, so I was just wondering, in the future, would it be possible to make the difference between the blue and the pink, which was the fire exits and the fog control doors, a bit clearer? I did follow because you indicated them, but other than that, I wouldn't have known which was which. Thank you.
Apologies.
Okay, Sam. Fine. Fair point. Thank you. Anyone else got any questions to ask of Anna?
Councillor Russell's indicating.
Oh, sorry, Catherine. Beg your pardon. Councillor Russell. Yes, carry on.
Thank you. Hannah, you didn't go into specific detail about the number of ensuite rooms. I visited this property and I was totally impressed with what I saw with the amenity and the quality. So can you just tell the committee, please, how many ensuite bedrooms there are and what other facilities there are in terms of the residents and their safety?
Sorry, thank you. Let me go through the plans. Okay, so this is the ground floor, if I just go through them in more detail. So these bedrooms are not en suite, but over here you have a bedroom that is en suite. So that's one on the ground floor at the moment. This isn't technically an ensuite because it has a door here, so other people could use this bathroom here. But again, there's two more bathrooms that anyone could use in this location, and the washer dryer in the kitchen. In this section, again, they're not en suite. There is a shared bathroom here and 3 bedrooms. And in the bottom section, which is over here, again, there's a shared bathroom and 3 bedrooms. So from my counting, that's 1 ensuite on the ground floor, but quite a lot of shared bathrooms, a large kitchen and washing facilities. And again, the reception and office meeting room that I understand occupiers can also use to for meetings if they need to, or discussions. At first floor, so we have 1 ensuite here, and then 2 more en suites here, and a 4th one here. And 3 more here. So that's 7 en suites by my counting. There's a shared bathroom here, and another shared toilet here. Another shared bathroom for this one, and another shared bathroom here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 en suites on the first floor. Second floor has another ensuite. So that's the only bedroom on that floor. So that's got an ensuite. And then there's the office room again. If there are any issues, there's a staff member just across the room. And then again, there is obviously also the garden area. And this is the garage, which is a office space. But again, it's where they identify that people can have meetings with support workers or the staff as and when they would like. So hopefully that is enough information. Thank you.
Councillor Russell, Catherine, all right with that?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else got any questions to ask of Anna, please, committee?
No indications, Chair.
Thank you, Ed. Right, we'll come on to comments, committee. Any comments, please? Councillor Birch, Jane, yeah. And you, Sam, I've seen you, Sam, I'll come to you in a minute, yeah. Councillor Birch, Jane, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Chair. This property is in my ward, and I have had a very good look around the property. Conversion is of an incredibly high standard. The rooms are lovely, well appointed, lots of daylight, lots of shared space, and it's certainly safe and sort of off the streets. What we want these people to have that security and that ability to access the services, the medical services and the social services that they are receiving. I have had a number of concerns expressed by local residents. Having spoken to them either on the phone or written in emails, explained the work that's going on here, the support that is available for these entrenched rust sleepers, and the optimism that they will be moved on to supported living. And as Mr. O'Grady said, they will sort of regain their life and live independently. A number of complaints have come and they have been persistent. Low grade antisocial behaviour, maybe noise, maybe rubbish, this sort of thing. I have to say that Key Stage Housing and Mr. O'Grady and his colleagues have responded absolutely absolutely admirably. I have huge respect for their professionalism, the way that they are dealing with what was, we are dealing with people who haven't really been restrained by sort of social standards, if you like. They've lived the life they wanted to live, and now they're having to adjust to live in the community, and it takes time. But I have to say that all the responses by Key Stage Housing, by Mr. O'Grady and his colleagues, have been exemplary. And I feel that residents are beginning to respect this, they're beginning to understand what's happening, the good that this project is doing. And in fact, many are looking forward to the end of lockdown, when we have been invited in. Residents, communities, been invited to have a look around, to meet the residents, and to really understand the project. And it is an absolutely amazing, supportive project. It is groundbreaking, and it's exactly the sort of project we want to see in the town, we will be able to go and understand this and talk to the residents, see around the property, and I hope by then, all the concerns of the residents will be, they'll be addressed. People will understand, and they will be pleased to be part of it. They're part of our community, and I'm delighted and very proud that this is taking place in my ward. So I cannot support this enough, and I have to say that everything that all my dealings with Key Stage Housing have been, very, very professional. So,
thank you, Jen. I'm afraid you're only allowed one vote, though.
Pardon?
I'm afraid you're only allowed one vote, though. You can't support it enough, I understand that, but you're only allowed one vote. Thank you. Councillor Kilby-Shaw. Brian, I've seen you. I'll come to you in a minute. Yeah. Sam.
Yep, thank you, Chair. I must say that I'm very impressed with this application, and I think we're all aware, even though that when there's a homeless count done, that the numbers don't accurately reflect the number of people who are sleeping rough and who are homeless. I think this is going to go a long way to helping move people into proper accommodation and properly support people. And I, again, same as Councillor Birch, I don't think I could support this more. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sam. Councillor Markham, Brian. I've got you in a minute. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. I can't remember when, but some time ago, myself and Councillor Beards were given a briefing on upcoming things, if you like, to do with homelessness and housing in town by Councillor Ebert. And we were told about this then projected scheme, and we were excited about it, and it was quite clear at that time Councillor Ebert was excited about it. We often hear people say, well, when can you do something about the homeless? How can you help them? How can you, personally, they ask us, how do you get them off the street? But how can we help them? We've had a successful night shelter scheme running. This is the next stage up from that. This is what's needed to help people get into into their home. But of course, a lot of people, it's not just saying, well, here's a flat for you. They need other supporting services, and be able to bring, it's so important, bringing all these services together. But from a planning term, I'm pleased to see the work that the personal report from Hannah was very good, I thought, explaining exactly. And it is quite important in terms of the community that it is a personal consent, or it is for this to be used for this purpose by this organisation. And I think in planning terms, I recognise that's how important it is, because it's all right having those facilities, but without the right management, without the right attitude and the right, the reason, the belief, if you like, from the people running the centre, it won't work. And I believe everything is there. So I, again, can only vote once on this, but I know how I'll vote.
Thank you, Robin. Councillor McCutcheon, Arthur.
Right, thank you, Chairman.
You've muted yourself, Arthur, now. You've got to unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, Arthur. We can't hear your dulcet tones. That's it.
How's that? I live in this area. In fact, my house appeared in the aerial view of this site. And we've had site visits along this stretch of Kingsley Road over the years. This is a very, very good conversion indeed. And I'm happy to say that those of the residents whom I've spoken to around my own house are in favour of this as a proper organisation for the people who need it, and that we have the need there and we would like to be meeting it. And this is a good way of meeting it. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Arthur. Well, just all I've got to say is that Jane, Brian, Sam, Arthur have made me speechless. I've got nothing much to add. You've said it all, and all I can say is I'll add my one vote to what your votes are obviously, I think, going to be, I hope going to be. So thank you very much for that. Thank you. I'm very impressed with the speakers, which is Stephen, Councillor Ebert, and James, Mr. O'Grady. I'm sorry, Jamie, are you wishing to speak, Jamie?
No, I was just going to propose we accept the officer's recommendation. I think everybody's in favour of this. It is a fantastic application.
Yeah, it is. It is excellent. Absolutely. I can't agree with you more. So I'll second you, Jamie. I'll second that. Do I have everybody in favour that we accept the officer's recommendation on this?
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody, for that. Thanks. Very good. Thank you. So that is approved unanimously. Right, committee. We now come on to item 10G, which is on page 97, which is a single-storey side extension to create a self-contained granny annex at 6 Brockhall Close. Anna, I believe this is your report. Would you like to present it, please?
Thank you, Chair. So this is the application site. You can see it's at the end of the cul-de-sac. It's an aerial view again. So it's this property we're looking at. This is the front elevation. So this is an existing store, and the extension, which is the annex, is in this location here. You can see it's actually quite well screened from the road. It would basically be continuing that line. This is from the rear garden. So again, it's filling in this gap. So this is the existing. So it would actually come across and fill in that gap. And just a wider view, so you can see it'd be in this area. The floor plans, so as existing, that's the store I pointed out, and they're filling in the gap, rebuilding this section, and this would be for an annex. There would be 1 bedroom with a shower room and a lounge. There's no kitchen in the annex. It would be linked through into the main house to use the kitchen in the main house. So it's all connected, and it's intended for a dependent of the main property. I believe it's an elderly parent. It's intended to occupy this area. The elevations, so you can see it's just a flat roof section. So at the moment you've got this store, and that would be continued over to fill in that gap. It's a flat roof side extension really to the property. So the application is for an annex for an elderly relative. It's linked to the main house, so it's not an independent house. It doesn't have its own kitchen. They have to go into the main house for the kitchen. There's also a condition that the occupier shall be a dependent of and ancillary to the main house and not a separate planning unit. And planning permission would also be required in any case if they were wanting to use this in the future for a separate dwelling. So it is for an annex to the main house. It's considered the extension would not harm the appearance of the house or the street scene, and it wouldn't be overly visible due to its location, and it's not considered that it would harm any neighbouring amenity. It's therefore recommended for approval. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Anna. And just before I go on to it, can I just compliment you as well on the way you presented that last application?
Thank you.
Very detailed, very well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right, committee, we have nobody speaking on this item. Does anybody got any questions to ask of Anna, please? No? Has anybody got any comments?
No indications, Chair.
Thank you. So it falls upon me to ask, could I have a proposer and a seconder that we approve the officer's recommendation for approval on this? Councillor Lane, Jamie proposing, Councillor Arthur McCutcheon second. All those in favour, please.
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, committee. Thank you, Anna. Right. Now that we come on, there's no item 10H because that's been deferred. So we go straight to now the 2 Northampton Partnership Homes applications. The first one is item 12A on page 113, which is a creation of 17 new parking bays with tarmac finish and the garage, 1 lock-up garages at Cover at Close. Adam, I believe this is your report. Would you like to present them, please?
Thank you, Chair. The application proposes the erection of 17 parking spaces on 2 areas of open space on either end of Coverack Close, one at this end over here and one in the park just over here. There are no updates in the addendum. I'll start with a couple of photographs. This is the area of grass here with a couple of trees in is where 10 parking spaces would go. And the area beyond the parking court will contain 7 parking spaces. You can see the 10 parking spaces over here, and this is the grassed area on the plans, and it would include an electric vehicle charging point to serve 2 vehicles over here. And to this side of the site, there's 7 car parking spaces next to the block of the garages. A landscaping plan has been submitted to provide additional planting to the west of the site. And to finish, there are no updates and the officer recommendation is to approve subject to conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Adam. We have Mr. Parr, Chris Parr in attendance. Good evening, Chris. Thank you for being patient and listening to all what's gone on before you. I wonder if you would, there's no speakers against this or item 12B either. Would you be prepared to sit there and answer any questions should the committee deem to ask you of any, please?
Absolutely, Chair, no problem at all.
Thank you very much for that. So, committee, you can ask the questions of either Adam or Chris. Just let me know which one you want the questions directed to. Arthur, I've seen your hand up first. I've seen yours as well, Brian. So, Councillor McCutcheon, yeah, question. And who is it to, please?
Either, actually, to be honest.
Sam, I can see you, yeah. Sorry, Arthur?
Right, to either.
Okay.
There's charging points only for 2 of the spaces. Any special reason for limiting it to 2?
Adam, Chris, whichever.
From my point of view, no, we could put more in if required. That is just has been specified as being the required amount, Councillor.
Right. Adam, have you got anything to add on that?
Nothing to add, Chair. Thank you.
Arthur, anything to come back on that one?
No, Chairman. It will be easy for any more to be put in. I think that's fine.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Kilby-Shaw. Sam.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. My question was along a similar lines to Councillor McCutcheon. I think in light of the fact that internal combustion engines are going to be phased out over the coming years, then there should be provision for these kind of parking spaces to have, if not electric charging installed immediately, but certainly to have the cabling, etc., put in to allow that in the future. And I was wondering whether that would be something that would be easy to retrofit in the future, or whether it would require considerable works. Thank you.
Chris, would you like to come back on that?
Absolutely, yeah. If we've got a power supply to one or a couple of charging points, to extend that would not be difficult to do should the need arise.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Markham. Brian, yeah.
My question, what's Adam? I guess, because I tried to zoom in on the plans. There are currently 2 trees. Adam mentioned a new landscape scheme. Was it proposed to include trees in that? And again, this is climate change, or even more than replacing those 2 trees. But secondly, to Chris Parr there, if we were to say tonight we want 4 electric charging points from the start, yeah, I guess, can we do that? I mean, it's up to Adam to answer. Are we able to do that at tonight's meeting? So we would like 4 points.
Adam, I mean, Chris has said he can do it. If so, go on, Adam. Can't hear you, Adam.
Sorry, Chair. To confirm, there are five trees, apologies, shown on the plans to come forward, and there is a condition to acquire those. There is also a condition to acquire electric vehicle charging points, and the report sort of sets out that the charging being provided is in accordance with the policy requirements in the new parking SPD. So that's why two were selected as part of this. But obviously the applicant could provide more if they so wished.
Thank you. And Chris has already intimated. Sorry, Chris has already intimated that. Right, yeah, go on. As they
zoomed in and could see the trees eventually, yes.
Yeah, and Chris has already said that it could be increased if it is necessary and if it's required. Yeah. Anybody else going to? Yes, Peter.
Sorry, can I just clarify that, Chair? The committee will remember it's not your role to try and negotiate changes on the scheme.
Okay.
So we're asking you to determine the application as it currently is. But what we can do, if you are minded to grant permission on this and permission gets granted, we can of course always go back and talk to MPH and encourage them to either erect other charging points which may have the benefit of permitted development, or come back in with an application to amend it and include additional charging points if they think that's the best way to go. Thank you.
That's fine, Peter. We've got it as with the two at the minute. There's no reason to me why we should refuse this on that one, because the opening is there if we need it. Thank you. Anybody else got any questions, or if there hasn't, then just comments, please, committee. Councillor Kilby-Shaw, Sam.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just a comment. I'm happy with the application as it stands because it's in concordance with planning policy. But I'd just like to say I would like to see more charging points put in the future. But other than that, I will be supporting this application. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Your comments are noted. Thank you, Sam. Anyone else got any comments, please, committee? No. So, if no more comments, could I have the officer's recommendation is for approval. Can I have a proposer? Councillor Markham, Brian, yes. For proposed seconding, I can see a hand, Jamie, but yeah. Is that your hand seconding, Jamie? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
It is indeed.
Yeah, okay, so therefore do we have all hands in favour of that we accept the officer's recommendation for approval, please?
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you, committee. Right, now we come on to the last but by no means least item on the agenda tonight. Item 12B on page 119 is for a change of window unit style part retrospective at Riverside House, Bedford Road. Adam, again, this is your report. Would you like to present it, please?
Thank you, Chair. The application seeks planning permission to change the windows in the upper floors of Riverside House, which is located to the north side of Bedford Road. I've included two street scene photos to show the original windows, and you can see they're quite distinctive, rectangular shape with curved edges. And here is the existing plans, and I blew one of them up so you can see it a little larger, but it gives you an idea of the upper floors it relates to and the sheer number of windows involved. This is the proposed plans. There's another slide which shows the windows in a bit more detail, but you can see how a square pane is being introduced in the middle to allow the windows to be opened. So I'll skip to the next slide, and you can see that's the original. That's the proposal. So a window can be opened, and there's also potential to put a panel in with a vent above. Finally, as the scheme is part retrospective, you can see that works have commenced on site, but it gives you an opportunity to see what it looks like, and you can see from the inside and externally. So to conclude, there are no updates, and the officer recommendation is to approve subject to conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Adam. Right, committee. There's no speakers on this. Well, Chris is here already. So any questions to Adam or Chris, please, on this? No?
No indications, Chair.
Okay. Any comments, committee? Any comments?
Again, no indications.
Then Do I have a proposal to accept the officer's recommendation that we approve this application? Councillor McCutcheon, Arthur, yeah, is proposing. Councillor Birch, Jane seconding. All those of us in favour, please, show of hands.
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ed. Thank you, committee. And thank you, Chris, for being patient, and your input's been invaluable, as it always is, as you know that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, gents, ladies.
Thank you very much. Committee, that brings the meeting to an end. And can I just say to all the officers how well you presented your reports tonight. Thank you very much. Very, very well done. Committee, thank you again for the way you've earnestly debated everything tonight and in the depth that you have, with the passion that you have. Thank you very much. And all I'd like to say is, please be safe when you go home, and also stay in touch. And stay safe and stay well. Okay, and a belated, I was going to say Happy New Year, but all the best for this new year. I hope it's better than the damned old one, but there you go.